Well, finance, as one ages, it's extremely important. And not everybody has the assets that they thought they were going to have. And one thing that we know is most people, though, as they've aged, they have their home. And many of them have paid off their mortgage, or at least very, very close to doing that. And you don't realize you really have the asset. Yes, you want to stay in your home. You don't want to sell your home. But where's the asset? It's right underneath your house. In a sense, it's like a treasure chest. And I'm going to let Paul Fiore, Senior Vice President of Sales for AAG, calling in from Orange, California, tell us about reverse mortgages. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks for having me again.
So thank you so much for sharing all your information. You are one of the most astute people, and I love to have people like you who can talk about reverse mortgages in an intelligent and a responsible way. So saying that, I thought maybe you want to just, for people that maybe haven't heard you before, we want to talk a little bit about what a reverse mortgage is, what the benefits are, and who would be eligible.
Sure. So a reverse mortgage is designed for seniors age 62 and over, and it allows them to basically tap into the equity that they have that's in their home to be able to pay off potentially an existing mortgage or to help supplement their current income with additional cash flow on a monthly basis. So they can stay in their home, because many seniors, as we're in the retirement years, they want to be able to maintain home ownership, but their incomes have maybe dropped because they're no longer working full-time, or they're just relying on Social Security or pension. So they utilize a reverse mortgage as a means to supplement their income and to age in place and stay in their home. And what's really nice about it is there is no monthly payment, and you get to stay in the home for as long as the last survivor that's on the reverse mortgage stays in the home.
Okay, well, it seems almost, I know people say this, it sounds like it's too good to be true, and there must be a glitch. Is there?
No. Well, listen, it's because it's not a monthly payment, people wonder what's the catch. And the reality of it is it's designed specifically for that purpose, that for seniors, what we don't want to do is to start incurring a monthly expense by giving them a mortgage that they have to actually make a monthly payment on. So the reverse mortgage is designed just in a different way than your traditional mortgage. It's still a loan. It's still a loan that accrues interest that gets paid back eventually, but it's just not something they're making a monthly payment on. So there really is no catch. It's still a loan that you are borrowing money. It's still a loan that accrues interest, and it's eventually a loan that does get paid off. But it's not something that you're doing in the traditional sense that you would do with a regular mortgage.
Okay, well, that's perfect. And I've talked to Paul before, and I'm a great proponent of reverse mortgages. I've seen them benefit people I know. I was urging my father to do that with his home before he passed away, and so it didn't happen because he did die first, but we knew, and he had paid off his home. We knew that would take him through a lot more years. So it was really very beneficial, and I do believe that people who haven't even attempted this ought to get information. Maybe it isn't going to be right for you, but you won't know until you actually try. So what I think you should do is you should call AAG, and I will give you their number. It's 855-319-1087. That's 855-319-1087. Or just go to their website. It's the simplest website in the world. It's aag.com. They really thought about that one, so I wish I had one that was that simple. And so we love to have Paul telling us about what's going on with this. Now, we do want to make sure everyone knows that once you have a reverse mortgage, you still are responsible. If you live in a condominium, you have to pay the fees. If you have property taxes, you have to pay the taxes. You have to pay, any kind of maintenance. You want to keep up your property because you want to keep the value up. Now, let's say you have a reverse mortgage, Paul, and after you've had it 2 or 3 years, you decide to move. What happens?
Mm-hmm. So no different than a traditional mortgage. So when you decide if you've had a reverse mortgage for a couple of years and and that loan has accrued interest for those 2 years, right? So on whatever program you've chosen, whether it's an adjustable or a fixed loan, it now will become due at the time that you sell the home. So you can sell the home just like you would normally with any other traditional mortgage. You pay off the balance of the reverse mortgage, and then you would go move to wherever you chose. Now, one of the things that people do today is, and it's becoming more popular, is they actually utilize a reverse mortgage to purchase the next house. So I guess we should just use examples and make it easy. So let's say you had a house worth $200,000. You owed $100,000 on it. So you're going to come out, you got lucky, you don't have any fees. There's no realtor fees. You come out with $100,000. So now you have $100,000. You go buy another house, say that's $150,000. You can use a reverse mortgage. With that reverse mortgage, maybe you qualified for $80,000 from the reverse mortgage. You would just have to come up with the difference, which would be $70,000, and then you would still not have to make a payment, and you would own your new home. So instead of having to pay for the whole thing cash, you can use a reverse mortgage to help cover a significant portion of the purchase price of the home and keep more money in your pocket when you actually move in.
That's an excellent idea. So for people, people have second homes. Many people do. And they've been living in the second home. But now as they age, they really don't want to have two homes. So I would say, and of course this is the reverse mortgage is only for your primary home. And you may want to make a decision as to whether you want to move into that secondary home. What would happen? They could sell this home, and then they could move into the secondary home as their permanent place, and then get a reverse mortgage on that. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in that scenario, what they could do is they could sell their primary home, move into the secondary residence now, and then refinance in that home in a reverse mortgage, and have, if they didn't owe anything on it, they'd have a line of credit they'd have access to, or they could have paid off the mortgage and then have additional cash flow available. However they want to tailor it. It really is a retirement tool, allowing people to enjoy their years in retirement. I mean, I think that's the key, is that you can actually enjoy the time that you are in your retirement years instead of worrying about how am I going to pay for the next bill, or can I afford to do these things that I want to do after working all these years. That's the key with a reverse mortgage. It allows you to think differently in retirement.
When reverse mortgages first came out, 15 years ago, 20 years, it was a long, long time ago, it was very difficult to get them processed because it was so new and they only allowed a certain amount. But it has exploded because I think it has turned out to be exactly what the government had hoped. It would keep people from becoming penniless and get on the streets because they had money to be able to live by and live with, and they weren't losing their homes. Whoever created this, I don't even know. Is there a history to this? Is it one person that we should thank?
Well, Ronald Reagan actually signed the bill into law, so... but it was, which is interesting, right? Because here you have a Republican president, and he signed the bill into law. But really, you're making such a good point. I think through the years with this product, there's been a lot of misconception. There was a lot of struggle in the beginning because there were differences to the way the product functioned versus the way it functions today. The costs have been reduced significantly. You have more options today in how you can utilize the product. I think it's more socially acceptable, and there's better education on it than there used to be. So it really is becoming a lot more of a socially acceptable product and a way to help fund your retirement. And I think that's why, as you said, it started to explode, and people look at it differently now. This is not a loan of last resort. It is not for the destitute. It is a loan to help you in your retirement years.
Right, and it's safe because the government is really behind this. That's why this isn't just some mortgage company that's offering you this. And to really make that point, the government is so strong that they want to make sure that the people who are doing this really understand it. And so isn't there a consultation that happens before you can actually do a reverse mortgage?
Sure. There is a reverse mortgage counseling process that has to occur. You have to receive your counseling certificate before any lender is allowed to start charging you, or you can start incurring any fees associated with a reverse mortgage. And the idea behind the counseling is to ensure that you understand what your options are when you go into a reverse mortgage, that you understand what the reverse mortgage is and how it's going to work. And so this way, it kind of protects you as the borrower from lenders or brokers that may be just trying to sell you a loan. I'm a big believer in education. AAG has always been at the forefront of educating the client to make sure that they understand the product, whether it makes sense for them. So this way, when they actually go through counseling, it's a productive discussion, and it's not I didn't know that discussion, which is what it shouldn't be. It should really be confirming that we did our job. And once you receive that counseling certificate, then we can process your loan application.
That's just excellent. And AAG, you've seen their television ads, you've seen, their credentials. It's really the first-class place for you to get your reverse mortgage. Now, something you said before we first started the show, before we got on, that there's some changes and some things that are pretty positive. You want to share those?
Absolutely. And as I said earlier, throughout the years, this product has evolved as, new things come up or as changes are necessary to help the product, continue to help seniors as we move forward through the years. One of the areas that was a big topic of discussion was the non-borrowing spouse. And what I mean by that is if you're not age 62, traditionally in the past, you would not be on title of the reverse mortgage, and then when your spouse passed, you had to satisfy the reverse mortgage with either refinancing or selling the home. And where the challenge became is there was a lot of discussion of, the non-borrowing spouse is no longer protected. If the spouse passes, now they have, a limited window to do something. Well, that's changed. The way this works now with a non-borrowing spouse is quite nice. So when you go apply for the reverse mortgage, even though you're not going to be on title as the non-borrowing spouse or on the loan, you're going to be considered, since you are the spouse, still as an owner of the property. So after your spouse passes, the non-borrowing spouse now has the ability to stay in the home indefinitely as long as they maintain their taxes and insurance and provide proof that they have ownership right to the property, whether that's through a will, whether that's through going through the probate process, whether that's going through a court order, however that is, to show that they have ownership within 90 days, as long as they provide ownership rights to the property, they can stay in the house indefinitely without having to make a payment on the reverse mortgage, even though they're no longer on the title. They were no longer on the reverse mortgage. They can obviously get title now back into their name once the spouse passes. So it's a tremendous benefit now for the non-borrowing spouse.
Yeah, it certainly is. And what about what happens if children over 50, if children are living in the home, can they go on, maybe they're 62, can they go on that
Sure.
deed with their parent?
Absolutely. So if they're doing a reverse mortgage, they live in the house, they're going to take the age of the youngest person on title. So as long as the children are 62 or over, they can be on title, and they'll be living in the home. So we're just going to base the qualification on the youngest person. If they're under 62, then obviously they cannot be.
Right, and so that's something to think about. But getting back to people who have reverse mortgages, for all intents and purposes, they own their home. They just have a mortgage on it. No one can take it away, and they don't make payments. Isn't that pretty fast? That's kind of saying what it really is.
Yeah, it's the same thing as a traditional loan. So, I mean, one of the things that have been a misconception for all these years, and it's funny, I've been doing this now for nearly 12 years, and it's still one of the number one questions is who is the owner of the property once you take a reverse mortgage? The answer is you are. It's no different than when you have a traditional mortgage. You maintain the ownership of the home. You just have the responsibility of maintaining your property taxes and insurance and the upkeep of your home. But it's no different. You can refinance out of it. You can sell your home. You can do anything you would have done that you had normally with a traditional mortgage.
Yeah. Almost, as I said previously, it seems like it's too good to be true. But listen, a mortgage company is making money. I mean, you're paying interest. You just don't see it coming out that way because what's happened is you couldn't go and probably get a mortgage from a typical bank now that you don't have an income. Isn't that true? I mean, if someone says, oh, well, why do I need to do this? I'll just go mortgage my home. Tell them about that.
Yeah. So in theory, it's, when we go through the options with people of what they could choose to do when they're looking into a reverse mortgage, I mean, we like to talk about, well, what are the other things you're considering? And, inevitably someone will say, well, I'm considering a refinance to a traditional loan or even a line of credit. Now, some people that won't be a problem for. If you have still strong income, whether it's tremendous income from your pension, you have excellent credit, that you can qualify for a traditional loan, sure, you would qualify. But the guidelines for qualifying for traditional mortgages have gotten exceedingly difficult through the last 5 or 6 years, obviously with the crisis that we went through. So they're not just giving out loans to people if they don't have the proof that they can afford the payment. The bigger issue with all of that is even if you can afford it because you qualify, do you want to just go out and take a loan that's going to require a monthly payment? Because if you have a need for cash flow, increasing your monthly payment or creating a bigger monthly payment doesn't seem to resolve what may be the underlying issue here, which is your cash flow. So if you're making a monthly payment, and typically a mortgage is your biggest monthly payment or monthly expense, refinancing into a traditional mortgage or taking out money from a traditional mortgage just increases what that monthly expense would be.
Yep, exactly. So this is a very easy way to do this. Now, how long from the time someone calls you and they fill out an application, or I guess you talk to them very quickly and you can assess if it's even going to happen with them, can't you?
Absolutely. What we do is we do a very consultative approach to anybody that's inquiring about a reverse mortgage. We want to understand what your financial situation is. We want to understand what your goals are. And we want to really understand whether the reverse mortgage is going to be a good tool to utilize for you as you go through your retirement years. Once we've established that, and you've established that along with anyone in your family that's involved in that decision, we move forward with the application process, which includes that counseling. Once you've completed counseling, we can order the appraisal, and then you can order title, and then that becomes very similar to your traditional mortgage process. So from start to finish, excuse me, depending upon your desire and how quickly you want to move forward, it can be as quick as 3 to 4 weeks. It could take longer if you want to be a little bit more deliberate in your decision making. It could take longer if there's some issues with the appraisal or if there are title issues that we have to clear up. But if it's a clean enough file and everybody moves forward in the right manner and you're able to get us the things we need to close the loan, then it's typically no different than a traditional forward mortgage.
Yes, see, that's the name. This is I love what you just said. The mortgage, a typical mortgage that your kids probably have, is called a forward mortgage. This is called a reverse mortgage. That was very smart because we don't usually call them forward mortgages, do we?
No, and it's funny. I think, when I first got into this industry, when I first started doing reverses, I had originally done the traditional loan. Everybody in the reverse mortgage industry, I guess it's the lingo, they call it the forward mortgage. And so we've just all kind of adopted it. But it does make sense, right? Your traditional forward mortgage is you're paying the mortgage down on a monthly basis. The reverse mortgage is that you're not making a payment and the interest accrues in the back of the loan. So I guess it kind of works when you think about the mechanisms of the loans. Yeah,
it really does. And what is the very most the reverse mortgage would loan on a mortgage?
It's a great question. In fact, part of the changes that occurred, it's kind of a side benefit. They changed the qualifying factors, and the older you are now, they've increased the amount of money you can qualify for. And in certain instances, it's up to 10 to 13% more than you had qualified just previous to these changes. And these changes are in effect for all loans that are closing, that are originated from August 4th on, will get what they call when they start getting the application process began. So you can qualify for 10 to 13% more than you qualified previously to these changes, depending upon your age. But typically, it really is dependent upon your age. I would say anywhere a good barometer is to say, anywhere between 50% upwards of even close to 70% now of what your home's value is.
That's pretty good. And so the other thing is I have seen where people are going to go into foreclosure, they're older adults, and that you can actually help them from that happening by their taking a reverse mortgage if it's qualified, the house and all.
Sure. So what will happen in those instances, as long as there's enough equity in the home to pay off the mortgage and any legal fees that may be there in the foreclosure, we would pay off the delinquent loan along with any taxes or back taxes that may be due, and help you get pretty much like a reset. So as you move forward now, you don't have that monthly mortgage payment, which is potentially obviously why you probably were in foreclosure to begin with, was that you didn't have the cash flow to make that payment.
Right.
So as long as we can set up a situation for you where we've created a positive cash flow position for you, that you'd be able to show that you can maintain that property, pay your property taxes and insurance, then the lender would be able to pay off the delinquent loan and any back taxes and give you the reset that you would need to be able to stay in your home. And I've seen that quite often, and believe it or not, it's amazing. You have people with a $200,000 house, and the foreclosure's on $40,000, and they just can't afford the payment.
Huh.
So they have plenty of equity in their house, but they can't refinance into a traditional loan because they won't qualify. And so they're sitting there on a borderline foreclosure or in foreclosure, and we're able to come in, help them with a reverse mortgage, and set them on a much better course in their retirement.
Yes, I think that would save someone. So don't let it get to that point. Please have a discussion with Paul Fiore, the Senior Vice President of Sales for AAG. He actually is calling in from Orange, California, but of course they have representatives all over the country. I think you're really the largest company that's handling reverse mortgage, are you not?
We are. Right now we're basically doing about 1,000 reverse mortgages a month, which accounts for a good 25% of the overall marketplace. And to put that in perspective, the second, third, and fourth largest lenders combined don't equal to the volume of what AAG does on a monthly basis right now. And I think a lot of that is just truly due to obviously, we have great brand recognition because of Senator Thompson's commercials on television and even on the internet now. I think we've got a pretty nice base of established branding, but it's really because of the client experience, and we really try to take a different approach to the product. We have in-home consultations. We have over-the-phone consultations. We really try to make sure that we've tailored the program to make sure it makes sense for you, and that if you do want a reverse mortgage, we have everyone involved in the process that needs to be involved, and we hold your hand and walk you through it all the way through from the beginning to the end. And we get a lot of referrals because of it, and it's one of the most enjoyable things that I do on a daily basis, because you just see how many people are helped by getting the reverse mortgage and how different their lives are 3 months, 4 months, 5 months down the road.
And how long has AAG been around?
AAG was established in 2004. We've really become, over the last 3 years, I think that's where everyone really became very aware of our national presence the last 3 to 4 years, because we've made a significant effort in being on television, promoting what we do, and really trying to give a different approach to lending in the reverse mortgage industry and working with seniors, because it is something that you have to take special care of the client base to make sure they truly do understand what a reverse mortgage is. Is it going to make sense, and is it the right product for the client? So I would say over the last 3 to 4 years, AAG has become very well known in I guess in the national media, because we do spend a lot of time talking about what we do and why we do things differently than maybe what you would have experienced from other reverse mortgage companies.
That's a good point. There are a lot of small companies that are selling reverse mortgages, and it doesn't mean that they're not credible. But if you go to one like AAG, they're so experienced. They've been doing this so well, as Paul has been saying to you. So it's what they say, go to the big, go to the best, and as long as they give you good representation. And I'm sure, knowing Paul now, as we have for over the last year or so, we know that they're a very conscientious organization. And so I suggest that. Let me give you a number again. Remember, on the web, it's aag.com, and the phone number is 855-319-1087. 855-319-1087. And when you call them, you get a free AAG reverse mortgage kit and DVD. So that'll help you too. So you have time to kind of relax a little bit and look through it with your friends or your family members. I know you want to talk to your kids about it, but it certainly has been tried and true. It's a proven product, and we really do thank you so much, Paul, for for coming on with us. And I'm glad that your parents are going to come out for a visit very shortly. They're lucky to have you out there, but I hope it rains.
I do too. We could use some rain out here.
Right, it'd be terrible if it rains when they come out there. Then you won't have time to even have fun.
That's funny. The last time they were out here, it did rain for 2 days, and that was the last time it's rained.
Well, you better get them out.
I know. I told them we need to get you out here just so it could rain for a couple of days.
So they're really rainmakers, aren't they?
They really are.
Get the drums when they come and beat the drum on the rainmaker. And yeah, well, we wish you a lot of luck with all that. Our hearts are, we're all going to feel it because the vegetables are going up in price.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. Everyone talks about how beautiful the weather is, but it wouldn't be so bad if it rained a few days. I would agree with you on that.
Well, that's the next thing they have to figure out. They can figure out about iPhones and these rockets, but we got to figure out how they can get those clouds up there and make rain come out. Anyway, thanks so much.
Business.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Anita. I
Thank
appreciate
you. Always enjoy it. Bye, Paul.